Casamiento del Magantichas. El 4 Zamboangueños trabajador na un construcción.
Mai Tình Bóng.
Nhớ lembra vos ang sabi kiyo tapate.
Easy Kyrgyzstan.
You got coffee?
Thank you, uncle. Thank
Okay.
you. Ha, macam okay.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Weather very hot, man. Jinjuat leh.
Yeah.
Hello, how are y'all? Doing okay? Yeah, it's us again. So I hope you guys at home are not bosan of our faces.
Throughout history, there were 7 colonial powers in Southeast Asia: Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, Great Britain, France, the United States, and Japan. From the 1500s to the mid-1940s, colonialism was imposed over Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian response to colonialism was both collaboration and nationalism in all its forms. The impact of colonialism in the region is wide and varies. Some positive contributions include the introduction of better infrastructure, international trade, and education. These are more on the economic impact of colonialism. However, there are also socio-cultural influences of colonialism in the region.
One of the influences of colonialism in the region is the creation of Creoles. A Creole is a language that has developed from a mixture of different languages and has become the main language in a particular place. Creole was a practical solution in bridging communication gap between people of different origins. It might have evolved from Pidgin as another tool of communication in trade, used more frequently in daily lives for a century or so out of spontaneity. Creole languages most often emerged in colonies. Most commonly, Creoles have resulted from the interactions between speakers of non-standard varieties of European languages and speakers of non-European languages. Coined in the colonies that Spain and Portugal founded in the Americas, Creole was originally used in the 16th century to refer to locally born individuals of Spanish, Portuguese, or African descent as distinguished from those born in Spain, Portugal, or Africa. By the early 17th century the word was adopted into French, and, to some extent, English, usage to refer to people of African or European descent who had been born in the American and Indian Ocean colonies. It was also used as an adjective to characterize plants, animals, and customs typical of the same regions. The term Creole was first applied to language by the French explorer Michel Djigillet, in which he used the term to refer to a Portuguese-based language that was spoken in Senegal. As a linguistic term, Creole may not have been applied to other languages until the late 18th century, and it was not widely used in English until after 1825. Language patterns in Southeast Asia are highly complex and are rooted in 4 major language families: Sino-Tibetan, Thai, Austro-Asiatic, and Austronesian, Malayo-Polynesian. But there are also several Creoles resulted from long period of colonialism: English, French, Portuguese, Spanish and Dutch-based Creoles. As English and other European languages are widely spread throughout the globe, it would be a definite thing that these languages have experienced and undergone changes in order to adapt in the society where it is placed. We sometimes call this process as nativization. Nativization affects the structure of language, for example sound system and rhythmic patterns, vocabulary and sentence structures, and use of language. In Malaysia, English was the official language under the British administration, and this gave birth to an English-based Creole called English. Manglish is an informal form of Malaysian English with features principally used in Malaysia. It is heavily influenced by the dominant languages of the country, Malay, Chinese languages, and Tamil.
Quickly, come here and take a look at this. Hey, come see, faster, faster, come see. Hey, fast, come see.
It's been so long, how are you? Hey, haven't died yet
Oh my god, are you crazy? Hey, you siao ah?
Can you please don't interrupt me? Hey, don't potong steam can
I'm broke. Hey, pokai liao.
You're really good at this. Terror lah.
Up until today, there are a lot of Manglish speaker in Malaysia, but expression and interjection vary per ethnic group. Manglish also shares substantial linguistic similarities with Singlish in Singapore, although distinctions can be made, particularly in vocabulary. Singlish is a colloquial Singaporean English spoken in Singapore. It is regarded as having low prestige, and so the government discourage people from speaking it, especially in mass media and school.
Although English is the dominant language of Singapore, a local vernacular known as Singlish is widely spoken. But the Singaporean government has attempted to discourage its use. But not everyone is so enthusiastic about Singlish.
I don't find Singlish particularly attractive, frankly speaking. For me, it's simply a socio-linguistically natural, inevitable phenomenon. Singlish is simply a colloquial variety that arises when you have English in a new context, as in anywhere else. I'm not particularly fond of Singlish, but I'm not particularly against it.
However, there have been recent surges in interest in Singlish usage, sparking several national conversations. In 2016, Oxford English Dictionary, ODE, announced that it has added 19 new Singapore English items such as Engma, Shihik and Sabo in both its online and printed versions. In the southernmost part of the Philippines, there also exists a Spanish Creole called Chivicano. Chivicano emerged around the beginning of the 17th century. The language was formed in the Manila area. The Creole emerged among Spanish soldiers and non-European groups in their service. Chivicano subsequently diffused to Ternate and Zamboanga. Chivicano has virtually no inflectional morphology, in that nouns, adjectives, verbs and determiners are almost always invariant.
La bienvenida no es a un barrio en España o Hispanoamérica, es en la ciudad de Zamboanga, en Filipinas, donde el español que llegó allá por el siglo XVI se ha mantenido hasta hoy, aunque transformado en una lengua conocida como el chabacano. El 10% la habla aquí. Es básicamente español, pese a las alteraciones en morfología, fonética, sintaxis y léxico. Y suena así. Nada de conjugaciones, solo el infinitivo más una partícula. Una vez habituados, podemos entendernos bastante bien.
In Zamboanga City, the government in partnership with Department of Education works together to preserve the language.
Ya pasa kita el ordenanza que talle makita con el Día de Fundación de Chabacano, que conforme está este día, junio 23, ta celebra kita para este día conmemorar con el diaton amor, para con el diaton lenguaje chabacano también.
Another Creole in the region saved from extinction is the Cristang language. Cristang language is a Creole language spoken by the Cristang, a community of people of mixed Portuguese and Malay ancestry, chiefly in Malacca, Malaysia. Locals and most of the Cristang community refer to the language as Portuguese.
It's also known by its colloquial name, Papia Cristang, but it's in decline, spoken mainly by the older generation. So, Singho started using social media to pass on her knowledge.
When I post, a lot of our Cristang people, they respond. If they see me on the road, they say, Auntie, posting bong, cry, bong pamyang. So they say, good morning, how are you? So there is also, it gives us courage to carry on. Even though they learn the simple few words, it is something.
While Chivicano, Manglish and Singlish are still spoken today, there were also Creoles and Pidgins in Southeast Asia that are now extinct. Tay Boy is the French-based pidgin language which existed in Vietnam during the period of French colonization. It was spoken by those Vietnamese who were in regular contact with the French and needed to make themselves understood. After France's withdrawal from Indochina in 1954, Tay Boy ceased to be used as a common language as Standard French was used and is believed to have become extinct around the 1980s. Today Standard French continues to be taught at schools and universities in Vietnam as a second language. Another extinct Creoles is the Portuguese-based Creole in Indonesia, the Mardijker. Mardijker is an extinct Portuguese-based Creole of Jakarta. It was the native tongue of the Mardijker people. The language was introduced with the Dutch settlement of Batavia. The language was replaced by Batavi Creole Malay in Batavia by the end of the 18th century, as the Mardijker intermarried and lost their distinct identity. However, around 1670 a group of 150 were moved to what is now the village and suburb of Tugu, where they retained their language. They're known as Papia, until the 1940s. Another extinct Creole are the Dutch-based Creoles in Indonesia, Javindo and Pejo. Javindo language developed from communication between Javanese-speaking mothers and Dutch-speaking fathers in Indo families. Its main speakers were Indo-Eurasian people. Its grammar was based on Javanese while the vocabulary was based on Dutch. It should not be confused with Pejo, a different Dutch and Malay-based Creole also spoken by Indo-Eurasians. The language has influences from Dutch, Javanese and Batavi. Its speakers presently live mostly in Indonesia and the Netherlands and has now been considered extinct. Of the many Creoles developed in the region, the most spoken today is Chivicano, and being a native speaker of this language, I would like Chivicano to be preserved. So how do we preserve endangered languages?
The first word has to come from the communities, the language communities themselves. So they have to raise their wish to revive their languages.
When this language dies, with it, we will also lose the cultural inheritance